Faster than a fraudulent performance measure, stronger than a misplaced decimal point, able to leap complex compliance requirements at a single bound. It's Super Auditor! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Auditors Save the World, one audit project at a time, where we bring you thrilling tales of daring audits and brave financial reviews. Here, our heroes don't wear capes, but they do wield the power of empirical evidence. Brought to you by the pros at Yellowbook-CPE. In each episode, we interview those legendary auditors who have truly rescued the day. Stay tuned, listeners, because this is one story you won't want to miss. And folks, don't forget to subscribe to our show in your podcast app of choice. And now, here's your host, Lita Hart-Fanta.
When financial chaos in a faraway land reared its ugly head, Matthew became the unshakable sentinel of spreadsheets, a fearless crusader of compliance, the one and only Audit Man. A hero unlike any other, a master of math, a wizard of the ledger, a champion of fiscal justice. Alongside a small team of forensic accountants, compliance enforcers, and financial sleuths, Audit Man takes on the cases no one else can balance. In this episode, our hero finds himself far from the safety of San Francisco, on a distant tropical island where disorder reigns, receipts vanish into the abyss, and balance sheets are mere whispers in the wind. Sent on a top-secret mission for the feds, Audit Man must pierce the fog of deception, reconstruct the records, and follow the money before overcharges consume the island whole. Join us now for Matthew's story, The Island of Lost Ledgers.
This is 2000, so 25 years ago. So I feel a little bit like the old lady Rose on the Titanic. It's been 25 years.
Yeah, me and you both, buddy.
So this was an intergovernmental agreement between the Marshal Service and Guam, and the context for it was, at the time, there was a wave of undocumented Chinese that were smuggled to Guam.
Huh.
And it kind of started as a trickle in the 90s, and then it was January 1999 where they got a semi-large influx of 100 plus. They didn't have the jail space for them. For the Guam DO, Department of Corrections, is fairly small, so they didn't have the jail space there for them. So INS shipped them off to Seattle, and that sent the signal to the smugglers that get your immigrants here, and they get a free trip to the mainland. And they just went, and it just triggered up massive, just wave after wave.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. So these are Chinese nationals who made it to Guam,
Yeah.
which is a U.S. territory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on purpose, so they wanted to become U.S. citizens.
Yeah, to claim, not unlike today's headlines, but
Wow.
And they were shipped off to Seattle. They processed them, and then they released them.
Oh, they released them
on their own recognizance for their asylum hearings. And so that just sent the signal straight back to Beijing, said, load up your ships and let's go to Guam.
Whoa.
And so they just got wave after wave. And so INS quickly figured out their mistake and said, we gotta keep them here.
Oh, no.
And so they didn't have the space for them. So
yeah.
they had to erect 10 cities for them there. And so in the meantime, they had this intergovernmental agreement, this jail day rate of $97.71. That's what they billed the marshals and the INS for jail space. So Guam was charging the regular jail day rate for all the Chinese in the tent city.
Okay.
And INS said, well, wait a minute, that's for one thing, we gave you the tents. You didn't even pay for the tents. So because they got from the U.S. Army Corps, provided the tents.
Okay.
And so you're telling us that it costs you the same amount to keep all these Chinese in tent cities as it does to keep them in your Department of Corrections facility. So we're not giving it to you. So INS gave them $36. They came up with a rate. I'm not sure where they got it from, but that's what they agreed to reimburse them.
Okay.
Guam didn't like that. They disputed it, and it escalated to the point where the departments came to the OIG and said, "Can you guys go in there and resolve this for us?" And so that's where we came in.
Oh,
So we were I was in the San Francisco Regional Audit Office at the time. Guam was in our region.
okay.
So they sent three of us over there with myself as the team leader, and then two others, Perla and Tammy. And so we all had a reputation for getting things done quickly and getting them done thoroughly. So
Good.
we were the designated A team.
Are you Mr. T? Were you Mr. T?
I was either Mr. T or it could be Tony Orlando and Don. I had it was me.
Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me. Twice on the pipes.
Without the mustache and the medallion.
All right.
So we got there. So we got there in so October 23rd. We arrived
2000.
in Guam. Yeah, October 23rd, 2000.
And how many people is this? Is this like several thousand people living in tents?
It had gotten to, I don't know if it got over, probably more than 2,000 cumulative over
What?
time.
Oh,
At any
over
one
time.
time, yeah,
Okay.
at any particular time. There was a time when there were more than 1,000.
Okay.
There were by the time we got there, it was more getting towards the tail end of the crisis, and it was down
Okay.
to several hundred. But the dispute was still happening, and they had put up. Have you heard of a sprung structure? Have you ever heard of one of those?
No, but I can kind of, does it sound like what it is, where it just kind of pops up?
It sounds kind of pops out. They're kind of prefab. It's a prefab. They're kind of cool. We're getting one here in Killeen, actually.
Okay.
But that was the first I'd heard of it, and they put one of those in eventually to take the place of the tent city, and it's like it's a prefab thing. Although you can apparently it's got all kinds of modules. You can move things around inside to create however many rooms you want to make, and
Okay.
and it's running water and everything. But so yeah, they were pretty cool. So they were in the process of putting one of those in to replace the tent city at the time. So we got there October 23rd. We were there for 4 weeks. And we quickly figured out, the first place we went was to the finance department, they call it the Department of Administration there, but it was the finance folks. And we quickly found that the financial, the ledgers were just in terrible shape. They were behind on posting transactions. They were just whole months just missing data.
Because they're just overwhelmed by so much of a population, or they just
No, I think it was just island syndrome.
island time.
Yeah, we'll get it tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha.
So we quickly figured out we thought, we'll just go and we'll test some transactions to verify the veracity of the ledgers, and then we'll do our quick IGA and go home. So that went out the window pretty quick. We said we can't rely at all on this on the financial system,
because there was no records.
so we had to go. So we went and we had to camped out at Department of Corrections file room. They said, show us where all your invoices are, all your receipts are. And we literally went through every single receipt in the Department of Corrections and reconstructed the costs from there. Also happening at when we reported back to our headquarters that the finance department was a bust, the ledgers. So our supervisor panicked, he was wont to do, but that's the drop of a hat.
Is he still like that?
He's retired, thankfully, but I'm sure he's panicking over this. Not a bad guy, not a bad guy outside of the office,
Right.
but in the office, he just panicked at the drop of a hat. But so the minute we told him that, he was, oh, sure, you need to send Tammy home, because he thought it was going to be a boondoggle, and then we're going to get raked for being at in a resort area.
Oh, sure.
So he said, you got to send Tammy home. So okay, well, all right. So we put Tammy on the plane. And then no sooner had we done that than headquarters in DC said, you guys need to stay there and do whatever you do to get it done. And I said, we just sent a third of our team home, and now you're telling us that. And so we were pissed. And it was like it's not like an express flight from San Francisco to LA. I mean, she was gone. That was like putting Ilsa on the plane to Casablanca.
Sure.
She ain't coming back. So we,
Because it's 2 days to get home.
so we were screwed. Yeah. So now it's just me and Perla.
Yeah.
And so we just camped out at Department of Corrections. We went through every single invoice, every receipt we could find. It was just a full bore scavenger hunt.
Ooh.
And so we could see the writing on the wall. We said, these guys are going to be screwed. They think they've been under reimbursed. And we could tell that the way it was going to come out was that they've been overpaid.
Oh, by how much would you say? Like,
It turned out to be, what was the total? It was like 3 million that they were overpaid.
uh-oh.
Let's see. Yeah, based on those findings, overpaid Guam 3.6 million.
Uh-oh.
So we felt bad. They were doing us. They were doing the government a favor.
Yeah, I know.
Keeping these guys in Guam.
Right.
So we did everything we could to nail down every cost we could, and they appreciated that. They could see how hard we were working to try to. So we did establish some goodwill with them. But in the end, there's only so much we can come up with. So we came up with so INS was paying them $36, $39, $35, $99, and so we determined the actual cost, jail day cost for the tent city was $29. So actually INS was over reimbursing them even the lesser amount.
Mm.
And then for the cost for the permanent facility, for the Department of Corrections facility, we came up with a figure of $60 as opposed to the $97. So Guam wasn't happy about it. They appreciated the effort that we put in, but I don't think the government ever collected on the
Sure.
on the overpayment, because it's Guam. It's not Dubai. It's not. It's
Right,
Guam.
right.
But the jail day rate, so they didn't. It was the $60 was a bridge too far for them. They said, "Look, well, we'll meet you halfway. That was $75. We'll agree to a $75 jail day rate." We thought that was a great compromise for them, because it was, so we took it as a win. But then our headquarters got involved, and it just turned into a major pissing contest. And we had we had this guy who was who ran all the grants and contracts. And he was a disgraced former regional audit manager who was promoted to a position in headquarters.
Okay, so disgrace, didn't do a good job as an auditor, and so they put him in headquarters in charge of a bunch of auditors?
Yes, exactly. The good old Catholic Church way. Maybe he'll behave himself in another parish.
Yeah.
But so he stuck his foot in the mud. And this guy, he was a little guy. I would describe him as a Mo Howard with Coke bottle glasses and a Southern accent.
Really?
He must have gone into the barber shop and said, "Give me the Mo Howard." But that was his hairdo. But he stuck his foot in the mud, and he said, "Oh, he kept going back to OMB Circular A87 says actual costs." But so they wouldn't budge. So they went back and forth.
Oh my word!
They went for months. Finally, they did end up. Ultimately, the marshals ended up adopting the $75 rate.
75. Holy cow!
He just ruined everything. So that was kind of the first time for me of kind of realizing the futility of this zero-sum game that auditors kind of traditionally had back then. We've evolved a lot over the decades. But
tell us more about that, because I expect that some newer auditors are going to be listening to this. And why did you feel like, first of all, you were reconstructing all of their records, which is not a normal behavior for auditors.
Right. Yeah. We
so, and you were actually, was it an audit, or was it more of a compilation, what you were doing?
We called it an audit. You probably could call it a compilation.
Yeah.
I do remember some people say, well, you did a reconstruction. Yes, we did. All right, sue me. Uh, we were told to do whatever we had to do to get the job done, so we did it.
Yeah, get the record, get the number.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When I came on board, it was the early '90s, at least in our office, and with the with an IG, and IGs are so insulated in terms of independence. I mean, they much more so than being like an internal auditor, like I am now. That you can afford to be a little bit standoffish. Not the best policy, but you can get away with it. That was the overriding mentality when I came on board. Was very much zero sum game. The only way for us to look good is to make you look bad.
Yes. Okay.
We don't like win-wins.
Yeah.
We win, you lose.
Gotcha. Because we are pursuing fraud, waste, and abuse, and we're here to shine the light on your misbehavior and da 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 da. And then so people were probably outraged when you gave them the result. So there you are on an island far away from home. Your life could have been in danger.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that go missing. There are a lot of Japanese tourists that never make it home, but
oh
they
gosh,
go swimming with the sharks. But
you could have been shark bait yourself.
It could have been.
You got out of there. You got out of there and had the big fight back on the mainland, huh?
Yes, yeah. Thankfully we weren't there when headquarters turned it into a fencing match, but to a pissing contest. And you see the picture that I sent you. So that's a cave. It's a little tourist spot in Guam.
Okay.
It's like you heard of the remember the cliche in the 70s of the Japanese soldier who doesn't know World War II is over.
Yeah.
Remember those old things? Well, this is a real case of that. There's a Japanese soldier in Guam that lived in a cave for like 25 years. And he was discovered only in 1972. I think he knew the war was over. He just didn't want to go home.
Okay, wow.
So that's me. That picture that you've got is me standing in the cave. There were a few times when I thought, yeah, that cave is not looking too bad right now.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Yellowbook-CPE, the heroes behind the jumbo bundle of self-study courses. With a 1-year subscription, you get access to over 170 hours of top-notch CPE content. Dive into thrilling tales of agile, IT auditing, fraud, and internal controls. All courses carry NASBA's quality seal, so you know they've got the superpower of trustworthiness. Just click the link in the description to sign up. And now, back to our story.
Now, you were the lead, I assume, and your coworker, what was her name again? I forgot.
So that Perla.
Perla, what a great name.
And then Tammy.
Tammy flew the coop.
Tammy flew the coop. Yeah, Perla was Filipino. Tammy was African American.
Okay.
So we were DEI before DEI, but it was a good team.
And Perla, was she also a little on the righteous side when it came to this number, or was she with you?
She was kind of, I mean, she was probably a little bit more black and white than me, in terms of seeing the sides. I'm a middle child. I'm number 5 of 9.
Peacekeeper.
Definitely, I'm the peacekeeper. But so I can always see in both sides. Yeah, that makes sense. It kind of makes sense too.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're a real Jimmy Carter. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
But she was the same with me. We were both kind of disgusted by headquarters and what they did. We thought it was she felt bad for him as well, and we thought it was a win-win when they met us halfway with the 75, which is going to save us. It has saved us millions over the year. I think the 75 read is still there.
That's ridiculous. That's 25 years ago.
I know it was still there in 2014 anyway. That's the last reference I saw.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, Guam's getting ripped off now.
Yeah.
I mean, has the Feds never heard of something called inflation or a burden rate?
Yeah, that's true.
Like they're only giving them actual cost and not giving them administrative burden rates. Now you're the city auditor of a small town in Texas. I don't know if you feel like telling us who that is.
Killeen, yeah.
Killeen. It's really not that small. What is it, like 400,000 people?
Not yet. If it's 160, about
Okay.
160. So it's getting
Okay.
there. It's grown geometrically over the last couple of decades. So it's definitely a growing pains. It's still got kind of a small town mentality with the large big city problems.
Yeah, because you've got the military base, which has how many people are on that base?
Oh, yeah, that's the 150, 60 is not include the military base, which is I had the figure in my head at one point. It's somewhere around it's over. I think it's over 100,000. But it's one of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
largest army bases in the country.
And they renamed it from Fort Hood to
To
what is it?
Fort Cavazos. I called it Fort Cavazos, and my daughter said, "Oh, geez, tell me you're a white." Tell me you're a white man without telling me you're a white man. It's Cavazos. Yeah,
Why do you say taco, by the way?
I say taco.
Chicken. You don't say tarco? Okay, so now that you're the city auditor, you're internal. You're not elected, right? You're appointed?
I am appointed, yeah.
Okay.
So I can be. I have hired and fired by the city council.
Okay, great. So your peacemaker approach probably serves you very well in your current position.
It does, and everybody's very. I'm on good relations with pretty much everybody. Uh,
Yeah.
that in terms of they're always happy to cooperate. They're always a little bit on edge when they get a call from me. It goes, oh no, what is it? I goes, don't worry, just checking in.
Good.
Yeah, it has definitely served me well. But when I first got here, yeah, I took my boss's advice. He at the DOJ. He was a former FBI Marine, and he shortly after the Guam audit, I got promoted to assistant regional audit manager there. And so he said when he promoted me, he said, Matt, it's a lot easier to be an asshole up front and loosen up later than it is to start out as a softie and then try to tighten things up.
Good.
So I kind of took that approach when I first got here. So the first couple reports were a little bit scorched earth. And there were there was at least a couple of directors who didn't talk to me for a few weeks after the report. I think my first report was a P card, and that was pretty. It was
usually easy pickings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was really easy pickings because of how undisciplined they were. But at least one guy wouldn't talk to me for like 3 weeks.
That's not too bad. 3 weeks in a small town. I mean, people can hold grudges. I live in a small town now. I used to live in Austin. I've never lived in a small town. Always lived in Houston, Atlanta, Austin. Now I'm out in Lago Vista, which is outside of Austin. Totally different mentality. You have to be so careful about saying anything about the local hairdresser or the nail salon because it's like, that's my cousin, you know? It's like, oh, it's a different thing. So you're in a small town. You came in guns blazing, and they didn't talk to you for only 3 weeks. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yes.
That really speaks to your charm.
He was a fellow cat person, so it wasn't. It wasn't hard to wind my way back into his heart. Just he showed himself a few pictures. So,
okay. Some little cat clip.
Yes.
So now what's your approach with clients? Like now that you are seasoned, you are seasoned because you're like a cast iron pan. You're so well seasoned, right? After 30 years. But what advice would you give to a new auditor?
So the biggest piece of advice I'd give to a new auditor would be work on your writing skills. Really work on your writing skills, because that's what catapulted me up through the rank. I mean, I would say it wasn't meteoric, but it was fast up the chain in the DOJ, and a lot of that had to do with it. I was one of 2 people in the office who could put a report together and do it with some style.
Yeah,
definitely that would be the biggest piece of advice, because really work on your writing, and not just getting things on paper, but getting them on paper with a sense of style.
well, tell me about that style thing. So tell me about what it looks like when it doesn't have any style and what Matthew does to it. What do you do to amp it up.
Okay. Well, I like to, the first report I wrote for DOJ, I was writing while I was taking a screenwriting class
Yeah.
at City College in San Francisco. And with the focus, with the screenwriting being the focus on story, connecting arc, and making things kind of flow and move, throughout the screenplay. So I kind of tried to adopt that to the report as well. And the comment I got back from the my program manager in DC when I sent the report, and she said, "Matt, this doesn't look like an."
Yeah, because it wasn't like objective conclusion finding, right? It was like it was a story.
Yeah, and I have an intern now, and so she likes the and I have ask her, I tell her do some research, look at other audit reports. She knows my style, and so she found a report from this city,
Yeah.
and so their reports are very I don't want to say they're kind of choppy. I don't mean it in a critical way, but they actually put down their elements of the finding in their reports.
Okay. Oh, they write condition, effect,
And
cause.
of course, she likes it because she's new, and
Yeah.
and I've explained it to her. She goes, "This is great because it's all laid out for me." But I said, "Yeah, that's I would probably like that too if I were a new auditor." But eventually you want to get to a place where you put the all the elements of a finding in a document that flows, so that you don't necessarily have to label them. People are going to pick it up as they read it, and often to kind of make a callback references from one finding to the
Yeah,
last.
like they do in a movie, right?
Yeah, so that this area make a reference in
Yeah.
one part of the report refers back to another part of the report, kind of tie everything together
Mm.
into it. That has that try to have some kind of a theme to it. They get evaluated every January. On one of the prior evaluations, one of the council members says, "Matt, reading your reports compared to some of these other audit reports I see is like it's like the difference between Cat in the Hat and let's see, the Russian novel.
Oh,
God, I can't think.
War and Peace?
Yeah, War and Peace. Yeah, it's like the difference between Cat in the Hat and War and Peace. But I said, oh, thank you. So I spend a lot of time in the writing and trying to make it playful.
Yeah, you're very playful. Yeah.
I like to make them kind of a fun, as much as possible, a fun read.
Thank you. That's good work. That's really good work. And making the report something that people wanna read is, amazing. How many reports do you crank out a year?
When I was by myself, it was about 2.5
Yeah.
a year. With my intern now, she's really good. And she's really good with graphics. So I'm up to about 3.5, almost.
Okay.
I actually did 4. I got 4 done last year, which is
Nice.
where I want to be. I want to be able to get at least one done a quarter per quarter.
Yeah. What are you auditing right now?
Let's see. Right now, we're going to be starting up the CDBG grant process. So we get
Yeah.
so they've got a new executive director over the process now, and
Okay.
they got a new process in place. So it's a good time to take a look. They've got it where the application process now is all online, whereas before it was all manual. That should hopefully make things go smoother.
For those who don't know, CBG stands for Community Development Block Grant. It's given to cities to keep them in good shape infrastructure-wise, right?
Yes, it goes. We're able to use it for like code enforcement
Oh, okay.
officers to pay for code enforcement officers and
Oh, okay.
but it's used for home for home improvements.
Downtown renovation, raising old buildings,
Yeah, exactly.
that kind of thing. Well, this was great. Thank you so much. This gave us a nice overview of 2 aspects of auditing, the federal level, the inspector general approach, and then your approach as a city auditor of a smaller city. I
Okay.
liked your stories too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all your cultural references. You're the best at that. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Thank you, brave listeners, for joining us on this adventure. We appreciate your loyalty. Take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with all your audit allies. And don't miss out on Yellowbook-CPE's upcoming webinars. Because every superhero needs their training. And Yellowbook-CPE offers continuing education that's relevant, convenient, and as thrilling as the fight for justice. Until next time, audit on!